Hi, my name is Mima. I'm a grandma and a mom, and I have a fun book today called Fancy Nancy. Oh, look at her. She likes to be fancy. In fact, on the first page it says, I love being fancy. Look at everything is so fancy. My favorite color is fuchsia. That's a fancy way of saying purple. I like to write my name with a pen that has a plume. See the pen here? It has a plume. A plume, that's a fancy way of saying feather. And I can't wait to learn French because everything in French sounds fancy. Nobody in my family is fancy at all. They never even ask for sprinkles. There's a lot they don't understand. Lace-trimmed socks do help me to play soccer better. Sandwiches definitely taste better when you stick in a frilly toothpick. See, the toothpicks they're fancy on top. And see her frilly socks to play soccer. A princess is supposed to keep her tiara on. Tiara. A tiara is a crown, or it's kind of like a crown. It fits right there on the top of your head. What's a fancy girl to do? I ask my doll. Her full name is Maribel Lavinia Chandelier. That is a great fancy name. Then I get an idea that is stupendous. Stupendous. That's a fancy word for great. Stupendous. Can you guys say that word? I'm going to try to say it together. Okay. Ready? Stupendous. Stupendous. That is stupendous, and that means great. Maybe I can teach my family how to be fancy. I make an ad and stick it on the fridge. Here's an ad. It says, learn to be fancy with lessons from Nancy. Easy, fun, and free. Plain, fancy. So she has the word plain on this side and fancy on this side, and then she has some words under here and some words under here. So under the plain list, it says yellow, leather, glasses. But on the fancy side, there are other words for the similar things. So yellow could be gold, leather could be patent leather, and glasses could be sunglasses. That's a little bit more fancy. Soon there was a knock on my door. My family saw the ad. They wanted to get started right away. So here's her plain family, and here's her fancy stuff. You can see the difference. The trouble is, my family doesn't own any fancy clothes. They pulled out things from their closet. Plain, plain, plain. That's okay. I go find, what is that fancy word? Oh yes, some accessories. So she went and got some accessories. Ooh la la, my family is posh. That's a fancy word for fancy. My mom twirls in front of the mirror. Why don't we go somewhere fancy tonight? See, her mom has got accessories and she's all fancy. How about dinner at the King's Crown, Dad suggests. Wow, my parents are acting fancier already. See how Dad has a scarf and a flower and a hat? He's more fancy. He says, may I escort you lovely ladies outside? The limousine is waiting. My dad is our chauffeur. That's a fancy word for driver. When we arrive at the king's crown, everyone looks up. They probably think we are movie stars. See how they walk in and they look all fancy? And see how the other people are dressed just regular? I am so proud of my whole family. They eat with their pinkies up and call each other darling. For dessert, let's have parfaits, Mom says. That's French for ice cream sundaes. Amazing, my mother knows French. When our parfaits are ready, I curtsy and say, merci. See the parfaits? And she curtsies and says, merci. Oh, do you know what merci means? Merci? It means thank you in French. I carry the tray like a fancy waiter. Oops, I trip. Uh-oh, I slip. The tray does a double flip. Ah! Oh no, look, it's everywhere. Oh. What happens next? Oh no. I don't feel fancy anymore. I want to go home. She probably feels sticky with all that ice cream, huh? After I get all cleaned up, I put on my dressing gown. That's another word for pajamas. I feel much better. I am ready for a parfait. I tell my parents, thank you for being fancy tonight. They had a fancy family date. I love you, my dad says. I love you, my mom says. And all I say back is, I love you, because there isn't a fancy or better way of saying that. That's a funny book, Fancy Nancy. Well, that's what I want to tell you guys too, is that I love you. I love you. Mwah. Okay, so yesterday, I was talking to my grandson, and he said, I'm not really throwing kisses. I'm just putting my mouth like this, and then I'm hitting it. And you could do it that way, but it still looks like you're throwing kisses. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Well, I love you, and I hope that you come back again, and we'll read another story at a different time. Bye for now.